All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we're back for another simple signal stream. Now, today is an exciting one, as it seems to be in every single stream to in the past couple of weeks. We've been looking at Bitcoin. Every single stream seems to be something massive, something grand's happened, and this stream is no different. We've had massive movement in Bitcoin. We also have, a rare sighting for me in my streams. Obviously, Mike does his streams. He has a ton of articles. I'm actually going to look at a recap because I thought, you know what? I want to see what people have to say about this, because obviously I can sit in my own little echo chamber doing whatever I want, whenever I want, but I want to see what people are saying. So obviously we've got a little bit of an article, a recap of this week. So quickly skim through this, see what's going on just in general, and then obviously we'll go on to the charts, which are pretty exciting, pretty crazy. This, that, the other is mental. Okay, obviously we're going to go through some percentages first. Let me have a sip of water, make sure I'm hydrated. Go through percentages, obviously, see what the market's doing. But before we do that, and before we actually continue the stream, do make sure you scroll down, like the stream, subscribe, this, that, the other. And while you're down there, in the description, really useful links, especially the Twitter and the Telegram. I say the same thing every single stream. Make sure you go check those links out. They are, obviously, if they weren't there, they wouldn't be important. So do make sure you check them out. Obviously, put coins in the chat. I'm normally, as of late, the streams I do and the stuff I cover, it normally takes me till the hour. So I might cover an extra coin or not. I'm not too sure. Normally spend quite a lot of time on Bitcoin. Somehow I somehow find things to talk about. I don't know what it is. Okay, I don't know how I find these things. I don't know what I talk about. It all just happens and it goes. Okay, so I normally end up filling up the hour till 10 o'clock, or my time 10 o'clock. But if I am really looking for things to talk about, then obviously, if you've got any coins in the chat, or you've got any coins you want me to look at, put it in the chat. And the last thing as well, before I do go on, if you're on Binance, I don't even have it open tonight. I know the last stream I was on this, simple signals. We turned the chat off because it was just a pile of crap. So I don't even have the chat open today. So I don't even know if it's been turned off or not. I don't have it open. I don't really care either. If you want to come talk or ask for anything, this, that, the other, come over to YouTube, Crypto Warehouse or Google. First link, live stream area, comes to the stream. Otherwise, I'm not looking. Okay. Move the chat actually. While I am also, I've moved my monitor and the camera's a bit up. I don't know if it's making my head look weird. So let's see what's actually going on in the chat. Kishan, as always, no surprise here. Okay, I'm never surprised at this point. I'll be surprised if he wasn't first. Okay, Kishan, obviously first in the chat. Absolute goat. Has something to say about Bitcoin as well. October under 70k, mean up to 80k. If worst case, 60k low on Bitcoin, 59k said move up. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so if you're saying we result in the end of October below 70k, you think it's only going to go up to 80k? I mean, I definitely think so. In terms of going up towards that range, in terms of being under 70k, we'll see how the month progresses and see what happens externally. But as of what I see, this month continuing to November was supposed to be the area of good positivity. Eventually, it doesn't have to be at the very start of the month. It doesn't have to continue all the way to the end of the month. It can start in the middle and this, that, the other. So October in a lot of people's books, I believe, is probably the month of positivity, which is probably what I'm waiting for as well. So in terms of ending below 70k, I think we can come up above that by the end of October, absolutely. Unless we have something, like I said, I can't tell the future by what did it say? I can't tell the future by whatever 20 days, So we'll see what happens during the month, during the next couple of weeks, But we'll see. I think we'll get a bit above that. And in terms of going up towards 80k or not, this or the other, obviously I've shown it before. I could probably show it in the stream again if I have enough to talk about. Is obviously the really important areas we have, especially 90k area with the equilibriums going up to that area. Obviously we had 104 as one of the high points as well, in terms of this is obviously a bit of a long period, I believe, but it was towards 86k, 90k. So I think I definitely feel that area roughly as well when it comes up to the end of everything, where we have this little pump and then obviously retrace a bit and then end of bull run type of numbers. We already talked about that previously, 120k, whatever it was. But let's see what else I'm saying. KB, go. Evening, lads. Lovely V-shaped reversal on Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, we've got relatively in terms of the candle body print, we've got relatively equal lows. Obviously, it's not really equal lows, but in terms of the bounce, it's a rough, roughly within the same area. So we're expecting it to surpass the neckline, aka I've been below this order. So we had a breaker block. We now have a higher time frame order block, which we bounced off, which was our last high we had before we came down again. So and again, that is on a higher dealing range, so I'm expecting that to be a bit stronger in terms of an order block, but I'm also expecting it to flip just as easy as a breaker block and be stronger support as well. So what I'm reckoning is we're going to eventually surpass that. Obviously, whatever price that is, you know, past here and this breaker block at 64k, I'm eventually seeing that as we continue on. As you can see, they're relatively equal, you know, only about $700 off if you go off the wicks, or if you go off the candle body, sorry. If you obviously go on the wicks, it'd be a different number. It would be, you know, obviously a bit lower there. It would be from 597. It'd be about $800, so whatever it is. I might have missed off 1,000 there, but you know, still relatively equal. I'm reckoning this is going to eventually see us surpass. We've had really big candles upwards though. Again, not really any indecisiveness in terms of the wicks, so obviously not too concerned about it stopping right here right now. But again, this, bearing in mind, I believe this is a breaker. This is a breaker block, so you know, we've seen our bounce already off of this rough area, not only from this breaker block we had, but obviously this order block, which is obviously a higher dealing range breaker block. So, you know, I mean, I was expecting this to be a bit of resistance. Obviously, we've had a similar scenario here. I've already talked about how, obviously, we had, you know, forming... It's yellow again. Hold on. You know, obviously, we had forming it, and then the bounce off it, and then surpassing it. Obviously, we came below, used it as resistance. Again, this wasn't the significant bounce we had. This is kind of like the form. See, we form, bounce, and then surpass. This is kind of like, you know, okay, we're now below it. Now this is our bounce, and now we're going to head up. That type of thing. But we've already had that again with the green area. So I'm expecting this to be used as support where we are right now, basically. So I'm not too worried what we're doing. And I'm jumping the gun here, though. I will go on to the charts after we read the little article I've found. Mike says 62k and a smiley face today. Yeah, I saw the smiley face. It was really good. Really nice smiley face. I remember for one chart I drew a Bart Simpson with a face, but never again. It was a horrifying drawing. I saw it in my nightmares. The smiley face was a portrait of Tariq. Now, okay, this was either... I don't want to insult Tariq by saying the drawing was good. I don't want to insult you by saying the drawing was bad. But I don't want to insult Tariq by saying it was good because it was a bad drawing. So I think I'll lead it on the edge of the drawing. I don't think the drawing did it justice of Tariq, as we already know. You know, the Henry Cavill of the channel. Okay. Danny, evening to you, man. I'm glad you could join the stream. Also, you know, if you're in the chat, you know, say hello. Also, if you're on Binance, to go on to the same fact about the chat, I'm not in the Binance stream. I'm not looking at the chat. I don't even know if it's been turned off. So if you are there and you are a real person, you're not a bot, and you do want to talk or say anything, or just have a generally nicer experience watching the stream, just come over to YouTube. It's a lot easier, okay? Easier for me, easier for you. Sorted. Nice comment. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I kind of haven't looked at it since, obviously, we had this pump. I think we looked at it over here. I think we were in equilibrium. I think the last time I looked at it, we were down here. Obviously, big candle here. Again, obviously, going into this article is going to try and describe to us why we've done this, which is what I'm excited for. So, let me read the last bit of chart. My face covered 90% of all the places Bitcoin was going. It was an eye or a hair pump. Fair enough. You know, that's your chart pattern, smiley face chart pattern. We should call it, you know what? There's got to be something someone hasn't thought of yet, like a chart pattern. Or a chart pattern we can redraw. So you know how you have like a cup and handle, and then the handle is technically a bull flag. So it's kind of like a bull flag with a bit of an arc previously. That type of thing. Surely we can combine two different chart patterns into our own little chart pattern. Surely. We've got to do that. That would be amazing. Anyway, of the apps, let's look at percentages, because again, it's literally 10 minutes past, the new hour, 10 minutes past 9 in my time, and I haven't even looked at any percentages. So let's get into it. 6.5% up in 24 hour. That makes sense, obviously, coming from the position we were at, you know, staying above, or staying at this area on the low, basically. You know, only, what is that, about $100 off of the orange line, which is the lower end of this dealing range. So really good, you know, staying above this range here. Obviously not even getting anywhere near the 58.3 area for the expansion line. And again, remember, we can dip into expansion and contraction, or technically they're both expansion. in the upwards or downwards, technically contraction if you think about it that way. So technically this is the contraction area, but it's not really called that, whatever, doesn't matter. You can come into these areas without it meaning you're in a new dealing range and you've ruined everything. Case in point, what we had previously, which I was saying at the time, and I keep on going back to this, I know. I was saying at the time, and I was saying before we reached here, until we hit above 66.3 and we see a print in that area or bouncing off it as support, we're not going to hold this. Obviously, lo and behold, we didn't hold it and we came all the way back down to the previous area of support below equilibrium, which was, or previous area of support resistance below equilibrium, which was obviously this order block back here. Obviously then had a bit of difficulty equilibrium, dashed up, found again resistance at these order blocks and breaker blocks, which was basically a setup for us to be able to surpass them and be used as breaker blocks on the high dealing ranges. Because again, remember, to flip an order block into a breaker block, you have to form the order block as support resistance and then flip it and then come back to use it. So, you know, in order to actually truly have an order block, you've got your area, you form it, and then you come back to it and you do that. So that's a negative order block then you know it's confirmed. You know, because some there are order blocks which can form which don't get used properly. So for example, over here, there's definitely equal areas here in terms of equal candles, but it doesn't really get used. It's not in a good scenario. Even back here, for example, here, you know, this is I mean, technically it got bounced off once, but you know, it's not really a true, the order block isn't very good, you know what I'm saying? So you need to kind of come back to them. So this was basically a good setup. Obviously, whether it be for that matter or not, whether it be an external data force or not, it still helps us to actually, you know, and bear in mind these are both breaker blocks on different dealing ranges. And again, like I said, for it to be a breaker block, you have to, you know, it's confirmed as support resistance, and then you surpass it, and then you use it in the opposite direction. So again, over here, if we go into the hard time frames, this will still be resistance on the candle body. Obviously on the 4 hour right now, both of these were being used. Obviously we tested it and then we fell and then we used it as resistance. So both, basically my point is they've both been used as resistance properly. So now hopefully we should be able to surpass this, because again, in our previous pump before we dumped all the way from this you know, 66k area, we did have you know, come back to this area and try to use it as support, and then obviously we came all the way back down again. So I'm hoping that this time this is the movement upwards, you know, surpassing not only this green area but this grey area as well, trying to come back up to where this fair value gap is, which, like I said at the time, before we saw this dump again from this order block, while reckoning what I was reckoning, or this or the other, is that we were eventually going to see 65 127 and then a retracement back to this order block of support, and then surpassing, you know, back up towards this the higher dealing range. And again, coming towards 65.5 doesn't mean we're out of the murky waters. We still need to get towards that 66.3 area and print before we can start to see 68.3 and so on and so forth. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on. But what I will do actually, before we actually go on to everything else, quickly go over percentages. So 63.29 obviously for Bitcoin, as we just saw, 2,462 for Ethereum. I don't think that's really moved too much since I looked at it. Again, Bitcoin and Ethereum looking pretty similar. Last time I remember looking at it, obviously, was a couple stream, or was last stream, which was quite a while ago. I think that was actually, because we did some on Wednesday. So obviously that would have been, I think I probably would have done it on Monday, which basically means like back here. So if we look at where Bitcoin was, it was this double here. So Monday we were back here. So looking at it again, Monday was back here for both of them. So yeah, Ethereum was basically in the exact same scenario we were at last time I looked at it on Monday. I think it was Monday last stream, or was it Tuesday? I can't remember what last stream was. But yeah, Solana, $146.32. I think every coin is basically back right where we were, because 146.3, if I remember correctly, is basically exactly where we were. Not exactly, but basically the price we were at last time I looked at it. I think Monday was, because it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I think Monday was my last stream, you know, doing the charts. I think that was the last price. So basically, as a result, we're basically in the same area I looked at on Monday. So there might not be too much to look at. Well, there will be things to look at, but in terms of where we are, it might still be the same TA I had on Monday. Obviously, post dump. Obviously, we had the CPI data and whatnot. We will get into it right now, which is Crypto Potato. I just want to see. Obviously, this is one of the ideas from this little area down here. Just want to see. You know, I don't really do these too often. I don't really do them at all. But sometimes I like to read an article too. You know, not only on the, you know, the new things in crypto, but basically like analysis and data and stuff on Bitcoin. So I'm gonna be looking at this. I want to see what you know, this person, I don't know who's done this article, I want to see what they're saying, So Bitcoin roller coaster to 59k. Wait, what? Bitcoin roller coaster 59k and back above 62. What's next? This week's recap. So I want to see what's going on. So let's read the first paragraph. Let's see, what's like. I haven't read this truly yet. I skimmed over it because I want to make sure it was actually important or not. Something which actually wasn't completely wrong. But obviously it wouldn't be uploaded if it was wrong. The cryptocurrency market has gone through considerable turbulence over the past 7 days. Ultimately, though, the buyers were able to maintain their presence and pushed off the attempts to drag prices to a lot lower levels. At the time of writing, the total market cap stands at around 2.17 trillion, which is more or less where it was at the time last week. As I was pretty much just saying, obviously that was last week, but, it kind of goes on my point of saying where we are right now, which is Friday, Monday time, which is nearing Friday next week, which is basically next week. Talking about basically the more or less where it was last time. I completely agree in terms of, remembering what I talked about on Monday. The prices look very, very similar to what I remember on Monday. So, yeah. So this is talking about what it's happened. So this is basically just talking about what the price action has currently been, which you don't really care about because, we can see that on the chart. So yeah, basically this is a good point as well. Let's try and focus on is they're trying to break above 64k, which is again basically the main area of this order block, which is 64k as well. So that is a good lineup as well for Bitcoin. Obviously tumble again, this and the other. So I want to see what it talks about. So market turbulence was perhaps caused by the recent released CPI numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US released numbers for the consumer price index once a month, and they are usually used to gauge inflation in the country. Yeah, we know. This time they came in higher than experts were expecting. Traders interpreted the information as a reduced probability of another interest rate cut in November, which is considered to be bad for risk-on assets such as Bitcoin. In what seems to be perceived as a bullish announcement, Mt. Gox has... Okay, so that was obviously the negative side of things. If it was higher than usual, obviously it is a very good thing for, like I said, risk-on assets such as Bitcoin. And this obviously, I think I talked to Mike about this as well, which is kind of a counteracting point on what we just looked at with CPI, which is a very big thing, not only for a small amount. Obviously, Mt. Gox has a huge power to be able to, kind of not sway the market, but kind of influence how the price moves. With their a mass amount of finance they have. Obviously this is again, it wasn't so much of a it wasn't their investment, but it was kind of what they did led to people withholding their actions based on what could happen as a positive thing in the future, October 2025. So it says they pushed the repayment deadlines for 2025, I think it was October 2025, which means that the potential of selling pressure over the market is delayed. In any case, it's interesting to see if the expected positivity in October will come through, like I was just saying as well in the intro, or if Q4 will be off to a bad start market. So this is some market data, don't care. And then this is some trash we don't really care about. Talking about obviously CPI. Okay, so apparently there's a plus token seizure, $1.3 billion in Ethereum. Is China about to dump that? South Korea is to tighten stablecoin regulations with new forex rules. South Korea's Ministry of Strategy. Okay, so I don't really care about any of this. Basically, I just want to look at the CPI and then to talk about Mt. Gox, which I think is October 2025. I don't think it said it here where it will. I believe it's October 2025 where it gets pushed to. I don't really see that there, so whatever. But again, I don't want to go on for too long because I'll just waste the stream. So this is what we have currently. Okay, we're on the 4 hour, but doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna look at it on the 4 hour. I don't really care about going on the 1 hour. The specifics, I don't really care. So if we see, we have this new purple area. This is our dip to, like I was talking about before I moved on to the article or the the post. Was this dip towards the lower end of the dealing range we were in? Obviously trying to get below it at this rejection area. Obviously these are rejection blocks form. Obviously lo and behold, we came to the rejection block area and pretty much bounced off it. So this is a good sign. This is a good rejection block, considering how big this wick is. So we know that this area is going to be good support. And again, this is very low down, so nothing too grand in terms of how positive it is. But again, it's something there at least. Obviously this massive move upwards again coming from this move upwards. But like I was saying before, before we move on to the article, was how big and voluminous these candles are based on these are big candles. I can assume the volume type, so I don't have the volume profile right on built on right now, but the wicks are very small and the wicks aren't very grand. The candle blades are pretty big in the positive side of things, so there's not really a bit of indecision based on the price action candle by candle basis. Obviously that doesn't mean we're going to be positive all the way through because there's many other things to look at, But if I was to comment on volume and where the candles are, there's not that many wicks. You know, it's a very sure movement in the market. So this looks like a definite correction back upwards towards where we were previously. And again, looking at this, I never like looking at consecutive price movement upwards, especially when it's in a coin which isn't seeing, you know, new a new surge of action going on in the market. You know, let's say there's a new coin released or a new project released with a coin attached to it, and you know it was the first month or two of the coin. You know, I would expect rougher price action. I would expect really crazy price action. But you know, when I see, you know, coins like Bitcoin, and we have, you know, multiple 4-hour candles up and up and up with big volume and big gaps, you know, it kind of, I kind of look at this and go, I don't like this. I don't like how fast the price is moving. I will be wanting a bit of a correction. Again, where's that correction going to be going? Well, we are now back above equilibrium again. We didn't even see any sort of resistance there. We just came straight back up, which is really good for us. Let's go to the 1 hour actually, even though I said I wouldn't. You can see, you know, we came up, had a candle of, you know, a floating candle in the middle of the equilibrium, and then we pushed up again, and then had another floating candle at the top of equilibrium and came up. So this is a really efficient way of coming upwards again and again. And you can see right now where our candle is the candle body is pretty much directly below the midpoint of this current order block we have, where the wick is currently at the top of it. So really well respecting this order block, which again, bearing in mind, is a breaker block. As you can see, you know, mitigation block and then rejection, and then breaker block. So what are breaker blocks? Again, order blocks just gets flipped. And again, it is also a negative order block. So we are waiting for this to get flipped. I do think it's going to get flipped. So I don't really think it's going to be too crazy. What we could see though, in terms of a retracement, is this bounce off of 63.412 and this mid area, coming back down maybe towards 62.5, come back into the equilibrium to test it as support, and then surpass this order, breaker block and use it as support. Because again, this is a massive area of this is massive candles. You can see like just constant white candles. We didn't have a single black candle, or obviously a negative candle because I have a black and white theme. In terms of fair value gaps or anything like that where they should form, this is the area down here, which again we are very far away from, and plus we are above equilibrium right now. Not saying we have never seen ourselves below equilibrium or above equilibrium very fast, but we're not really in the area to see equilibriums or see value gaps. But if we go to a high dealing range, we could potentially see some. So if we go to it, where are we? So, and you can even see on this bounce as well, on the higher range, you can see, again, they are pretty much the same number. But you know, it's again with a lot of ranges, they're very similar in the way they move, especially ones which go a bump up. So the 6561 to the 19863. These are very close by dealing ranges, so there's not really going to be much difference. But you can see rejection blocks, order blocks, fair value gaps. So you can see that this candle is within the fair value gap area. So this is going to be a fair value gap on this range. So if we make this green and we go back to the current range, so this is a fair value gap on the higher range. But you can see it's also pretty much the midpoint of it is exactly where the equilibrium is. So I could definitely expect, because again, fair value gaps, remember, you can come into them at the very top, you can come to the midpoint, or you can fill them fully. So we could see a dip into the rough area, maybe coming towards, you know, 61.8. You know, we could fill this gap a bit and then come upwards. So I was just looking at to see if any of these candles were supposedly in the areas where they should form. And again, looking at that on the higher dealing range, this candle is formed within the range where there should be supposed fair value gaps, and lo and behold, there is. So in terms of the likelihood of one following through or not, this is looking more likely. So coming towards the 61.7, 62 area, I could definitely see that being a massive support area, which would come down to whether it be a wick or not, and then come upwards again. So I think KB actually mentioned, I didn't really read the message, I think he said he's waiting for a retracement. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Considering what we're doing right now, I could expect this bounce and then come back upwards, and then a bit of a V shape, you know, coming upwards, you know, obviously coming upwards, bang, come downwards, a bit of a V shape going on, coming back upwards again. So I want to see a higher low, you know, because obviously we've had this low, bang, a lower low. I want to see a higher low in this area coming upwards again. That's what I would like to see. Again, we're on the 4 hour, so it's going to take a longer period of time to see that low. But on the 1 hour, it'd be a lot easier. You know, I want to see that low doing that, you know, coming into maybe, you know, the morning of tomorrow. I want to see that low at this fair value gap. That would be, you know, what I would preferably see. But you know, currently where we are, we're seeing resistance to this order block. Makes sense. You know, we're going to see resistance, we're going to flip it and use it as support. So I'm not surprised at what we're doing right now. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of pretty much it. Again, we have this kind of relatively equal low on the candle bodies. bounce neckline being roughly at 63.6, which is basically where the order block is. So the neckline is basically its order block. And what happens obviously in a double low or relatively equal double low is, you surpass the neckline and then you proceed back to where you roughly were. So the neckline in this case is basically this order block. So what this is kind of telling me is we should see that surpass of this order block eventually. Again, obviously nothing's ever confirmed. When you do TA, especially when you do some TA, which isn't solely based off data, you do have to have that risk in mind. And again, I always mention this on my streams, risk management is probably one of the most important things when you do, to follow through with when it comes to trading. You can have a lot of strategies which work and don't work, but you can be made to work and not work depending on your risk management. So you do want to be careful that none of this is financial advice. I'm just doing this, this is just my method. I try and do things which are different from everybody else, and whether that mean I give things which are or give TA which is wrong a lot of the time or right a lot of the time. I do get things pretty right. I do get things which are right to the dollar. I get things which are relatively right. I get things which are okay. I also get things wrong. So, and I think most people do that. A lot of people get things right and wrong, because again, trading at the end of the day, if someone tells you they've got 100% win rate and they've got 100% accuracy in their TA, there's something going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. But yeah, none of it's financial advice. To reiterate, make sure you're trading anything what I'm talking about based on your own information and your own own analysis. So yeah, I'm expecting that bounce off of this area. I'm expecting that retracement back into equilibrium, because before I saw that this fair value gap was in an inefficiency area, then I was already expecting a retracement into equilibrium. But this kind of backs up to me that the midpoint's at the blue line. We could see maximum bounce on the equilibrium at 61.7, because again, remember, not only is this red area equilibrium, but this higher one is as well. So yeah, I'm expecting that over the course of this normal movement. But also I want to quickly go over some of the higher period TA, because yeah, I want to see these highs again. So this was kind of where we had, I don't know what this is. I think I had this on the monthly maybe. This TA, I don't know what it is. Oh, it's an order block, right? So actually it's a breaker block. Perfect, exactly what we need. So this is actually really perfect, because we are bouncing off of equilibrium currently, 7, or not currently, but this is on the month, not currently, but in our current price action within the monthly, it had our bounce off of 72,630, which is equilibrium. This whole thing's equilibrium. This is more tighter equilibrium, but you will see bounces off these areas. Absolutely. But we're seeing this bounce. I definitely think we're going to come into, and again, this is going on to, I want to talk about where we can see our highs at, because obviously I've talked about what we're doing right now. I want to talk about what we could see with our pumps, and where we could eventually see to as our max before I move on to Ethereum and Solana, which is what I think is, I definitely think, because when you split up dealing ranges, you've got equilibrium, you've got your high area, your premium, and you've got your discount. So you can split them up into 3 areas. So obviously currently over the whole period we've been in this discount area, obviously seeing ourselves eventually reach 72.6, finally, obviously forming this order block, which is going to be a breaker block because it is in breaker block area. Again, remember, this whole area is a breaker block, and this is a perfect breaker block because we are below. So in theory, and I don't follow through this all the time, but in theory, when you're below equilibrium, you want to look for things which are going to push you upwards and going to be support or positive, TA. And when you're in premium, you want to look for things which are negative. So for example, we had that fair value gap on the 4 hour on the higher dealing range. That is below equilibrium, and it is a positive fair value gap. So that should follow through properly. We have in this case, which is what I'm going on to now, this is a positive breaker block because it's a negative order block. We are using it as resistance, as you can see. Currently, we formed it, resistance, we've bounced into it. Obviously, we've tried to get above, but our candle bodies are staying below this midpoint, which is at 66.2. So 62 is a really important area. But it's a breaker block, remember that. So we've had our form, we've had our resistance, and now we're starting to come back upwards again. So we could eventually see that movement to bounce off it and then come upwards, which would be a breaker block. And again, remember, this is positive because any order block which is negative will have a positive breaker block attached to it because of the way it works. Because you flip the order block to be positive or you flip it to be negative, vice versa. So that's a good thing. So in terms of the prices, I've already talked about this a ton of times over, but I want to reiterate it again, which is 93,887, obviously 83,251 or 3,259, sorry, which is the main equilibrium area. Again, we've got 72 and 104k, 104.5 as the outer rims. I could definitely see a wick all the way up to 104k. There have been people talking about 120k plus. We also have 125k. That is also a number. Not saying that's going to be one which is accurate or not. But 104k, 93k. These two prices are what I'm looking at. You know, obviously we're going to have difficulty in this area as we come up. I definitely think we could, you know, kind of stagnate ourselves in this area. But I think the main one I'm looking at is either a bounce off of 93.8 or a bounce off of 104.5, which I know is a big range. You know, I want to keep things moderate when it comes to big price ranges. But again, this is on the monthly. This is a high dealing range. Again, you know, this dealing range encapsulates the entire history of Bitcoin, you know, on this chart, which goes back towards 2018. Because again, this is on OKX, which isn't, you know, I'm not affiliated with any of these platforms. We are streaming on Binance right now. I'm not saying OKX is the best platform. I'm not saying anything like that. Obviously, we're on Binance. I'm just using this as my chart. It doesn't really matter. But the data goes back towards 2018. But it encapsulates everything within this discount area. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. We've already had our bounce off of the 72.6 equilibrium. I'm expecting that bounce to then see ourselves come into this equilibrium, which is going to, you know, provide its whole deal of difficulty, you know. Because, again, like I said, you split up the premium discount into three separate areas, which is the discount, the equilibrium, and the premium. So we're going to see that eventually, that movement upwards into that equilibrium. It's going to provide its whole new story of difficulty. That was a bike outside, by the way. So yeah, I definitely think 93.8 to 104 is definitely two prices I'm looking out for, or price areas. Obviously, you've got the midpoint of the equilibrium at 88-ish K. Obviously, you've got different areas, but it's mainly 93k what I'm looking at. So yeah, that's obviously just something to look at in the distant future for Bitcoin, or maybe not so distant, depending on how the price actually follows through. So yeah, I think I'm going to move on. It's 9:30, which is actually pretty good timing for me. I'll read the chat before I move on from Bitcoin. You can see right now we're having that retracement to the bottom of the equilibrium. So we might see a negative candle within this hour print coming in 30 minutes. So we could see our first negative candle, which could eventually see us come towards 62.1. I think minimum price in terms of if we do retrace and come to this equilibrium fair value gap thing, I think minimum is going to be 62.1. 62.130, that area, but obviously again maximum can be all the way to 61.2 down here to fill the entire gap. So I'm wrong actually. It should be this midpoint, not this one. I looked at the wrong line, which is 61.738, not 61 down here. As you can even see right now, we're from the black again. It's not printed, so it's not confirmed, but we're starting to maybe see that arc. Obviously, this is substantial, but yeah. Let me read the chat. Actually, I want to see what people are saying in the chat. Let's scroll up. Okay, Matthew Hand. People expecting new lower lows for Bitcoin are now fighting the trend. While it is possible, it's just not favorable based on established higher high and higher low. What currently we have a higher high and a higher low? I don't know what we're talking about. What time frame is he on? Wait, I don't see the higher high. It's just not favorable based on the established higher high and higher low. Is he talking about coming up towards 66 and then coming down to? I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know. I'm sure he knows what he's talking about. I'm scared of dump on Bitcoin. I don't think we're gonna dump really. I don't really think we're gonna see anything lower than 59k, which we've already seen us visit once before. Because again, that's the low of the dealing range. Not only that, we have this rejection block, which I'm eventually waiting for as well. So, Horkatia, 100% accurate. I wish it was. Again, like I said, I don't have. Also, you put an exclamation mark, so maybe. Yeah. We should see the imbalance. Yeah, rebalance it, absolutely. I do think the low is in. Yeah, exactly. We've come to this orange line, which is the low of the range. I definitely think this is our low. We've formed a rejection block from this low within the rejection block area. So I definitely think this is the low. I think we've come up from the low now. Obviously, we're coming down now. I think we are going to be coming into this equilibrium and using it as support, as I've already said. High low will be nice. Yeah, exactly. Money flow. I'll look at money flow in a minute. Yeah. Memes on fire. Yeah, there's a lot of there's been a lot of movement from altcoins. Obviously, I know that's altcoins, but there's been a lot of movement from the main coins into alternate coins. I'm not saying altcoins, alternate coins. including meme coins in that sphere. But yeah, absolutely. I've seen it's pretty crazy. Either for Mog, yeah, I think if you do want, I definitely think there are some meme coins which are looking out to be something very. Again, we've got Mew, obviously, top right on the screen. Go look at them. Not saying, not the wolf one. Mew is obviously the meme coin. So yeah, I definitely think there are some meme coins which are running up to be some pretty nice picks coming up into the future. Mog, Mew, Brett, exactly. And Brett is also one. I've seen tons of memes about that. I don't show the whole yeah, exactly. Yeah, this chart I have it only goes back to 2018, but again, I mean I could probably redraw these ranges on a different chart which shows you more data, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. Mog, Mew, Brett, yeah. Giga looks like a Shiller coin. There's tons of them, running because on Binance it's not good. They have no idea. I probably shouldn't have read that, but yeah, I mean, I'm not even on Binance. I don't really care. Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying on this chart, it only goes back to 2018. Where there's more data before that. But again, in terms of looking at current price, if I really required previous action, pre 2018, 2017 onwards, obviously I would go into a different chart. But yeah, whatever. Bitcoin chart on Bitstamp shows the complete data. Well, you know what I might do for next stream or something, I will go on to I'll go Bitstamp. I'll redraw the ranges just to see the entire history, see how well it lines up. I'll do that. Exactly, yeah. There's not much. Like I said, I was just saying, I don't need that data. Truly, like I said, I could go back and draw the ranges again just to see how well it acts. For the post, post 2018 and the pre 2018 together. I could go back, but for doing TA, which we're doing right now, if I'm the 4 hour the daily, I'm not going to use it. Again, look at the monthly. Again, it will go back lower. You know what? I should actually, because when I go onto my really high ranges, which I've drawn, it doesn't show the full picture again. So I probably should go and draw the higher ranges. Maybe not all the ranges, but on the higher ranges, because again, it only goes back, like I said, to when we have $5,000 Bitcoin and stuff like that. So wait a minute. I don't know, maybe there's a disparity or something. But anyway, it doesn't really matter right now. Let's go back to where we are. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. We'll look at the money flow in a minute. What's this you sent? CoinMarketCap. I don't want to bring the live chat up. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this one's looking pretty good. Because on some of our meme streams, we've gone over, well, not only, obviously me or whatever, we've gone over like pretty much all coins. If I go to memes, we've gone through this list multiple times. Yeah, obviously Brett's been a big one. I don't really like this one. I don't really like it. Riff was good. Obviously Pepe is there. I like dogs. I mean, again, I think when I did my reviews, or not reviews, but when I was asked, when it was me and Mike have been saying the top 3 coins. Obviously, I've said Mew, Brett, because I've seen it a ton. But I've mainly just looked at the little icons and seen if they're good or not. Because again, that's all you can really do at the end of the day. Unless there's something critical in the back end, But again, if you've got anything to use it for, then it's not really a meme coin. You've got utility for it. So there's kind of that paradox there where you can't have much more than the image. And the image will bring the community. So you could say, oh yeah, there's a meme coin with a big community. That's great. That's cool. But where does it build that community from? It's built it from the idea of using that meme. So at the end of the day, I don't really care what the community is, whether it's big or small, because I'll care about the further adoption of it, and how well it's going to be recognized as something to buy, obviously for the bull runs to see if it's going to pump. So again, it's mainly just looking at these icons. But yeah, I mean, Mog's good. I've seen Mog. I like Mog. Mog's a good one. In terms of the idea, because again, you only really have to look at the idea of it. That's basically what you got. But again, with Mew, it's a grey area, and a lot of meme coins is a grey area because you've got the coin and you've got the project, but then the project starts to make things. But unless the project makes things within its sphere which doesn't involve using the token, then that's okay, I guess. Like obviously Mew, I think they're having their game. I think they've got something like a Subway Surf thing coming up. I don't know if we're allowed to say that actually. Might just leak that. I do apologise. We might have to edit that out. We might have to delete the entire stream. But yeah, it gets a bit shady. Obviously, if there's things within the community which get built which can use Pepe, not built by the founders themselves, then that's okay. You know, you can't really argue. You can't really stop that. You know. But anyway, whatever. I'm yapping. Sundog. I think I've seen that one as well. I'll look it up. Sundog. I think I've looked at the page for this one. Yeah, this one's cool. I like this one. It's a nice little photo. I like this one. This one's good. Where is it gone? Oh, I'm on. Yeah, this is nice. This is cool. Yeah, who cares? Like, it's a bit, you know. Oh, look, it's got a dog on it. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's got, you know, it's a bit goofy, I guess. These stupid buttons and stuff. I hate looking at it, though. I hate it all. The web design is absolutely appalling. But again, it's a meme coin. I expect this. This is good. I like quirky. You need to have something quirky if you're going to have a meme coin. But anyway, we're not here to talk about meme coins. We're here to talk about, yeah, the main stuff. So yeah, obviously, again, like I said, it's substantial. I'm not expecting, as soon as we start to come down in the current candle we have, to have a permanent, you know, permanent move down in Bitcoin. But again, we're hovering. You know, we've got candle indecisive. Obviously, indecisive candle, and then we've finally pumped indecisive candle. Then we pumped into the area. Indecisive candle pumped above equilibrium, but we're starting to kind of we're still hovering below it. Obviously, with a massive wick. So again, this is kind of the thing where it's like you've got multiple consecutive candles previously, which have big candle bodies, not really anything considerable in terms of the wicks. But then you have this one candle all of a sudden, which has a really big wick and not like a tiny body. Obviously, that's a bit of the, you know, where the volumes kind of matched together with the buy and the sell. So that's when it starts to come into the thing where it could be you could start to see downwards movement before you continue upwards again, which is why I'm saying I reckon we're going to see us dip back into equilibrium, test it somewhere. If I was to reckon anyway, maybe into this, you know, to match up perfectly, it would be coming into equilibrium, hitting the fair value gap, and then coming upwards again. That would be perfect, I think. But obviously, you can only hope. Anyway, let's go to Ethereum. I can't remember if I have any of the charts with a range on them, because again, I don't know. It's like Dora the Explorer or whatever. I'll draw things and they just disappear, and I just don't remember them ever again. Let's see how we're doing. So I had this drawn previously. We didn't actually bounce off this line, so we then came down. So if I move this line, I don't know when I drew this. I think this would have been last week actually. I've just moved the line as well. There we go. So yeah, we bounced off this line again. Oh no, again. Oh. Where was my main TI? I think it was down here, wasn't it? What range is this? It's a different range, isn't it? No, my main tiers are down here. Okay, cool. This is on the daily, of course. I'm stupid. Okay, so the main tier is down here. So that's why I was confused. Okay, so yeah, we've already talked about this, I think. We've already talked about a bit of it. So we had this main area down here where we bounced the thing, this, that, the other. And then we obviously, messy, I do apologize. We had the rejection blocks from the previous range cause difficulty, which we eventually flipped and used as support. Flip below now, trying to get it back above. So yeah, we're having major difficulty. A really nice bounce off of this equilibrium down here as well. I want to see, because Ethereum's actually pretty, okay, it's not, it's like, what, 20 cents off, which is not bad. But let me go back upwards, there we go. So in current scenario, what we've got going on, we've got this grey area, I can't remember what this was, I think this was a really large time frame equilibrium. So on the 243, so a bit of a smaller range right now, surpassing this purple line, which I believe is it a rejection block? What is it? Is it a 1 hour, what is it? Was it the 81 minute? It's like a really weird, I can't remember what it was. I think it was a really weird time frame I used to get the order block. There's an area within the purple, but if I was to hide it, you've got your main areas in these different areas, you know, which have the difficulty, especially this green one, which was the main area. You can see you used it, and again, we are in order block area, so this is where you start to flip a bit difficult. But again, remember, on the higher range, you know, this whole area is where breaker blocks form. So all these order blocks are going to be where breaker blocks form. So and this main one is a negative order block, which obviously is going to be flipped to be used as support. Again, flip this one, and then we came back upwards. So we are currently seeing this main one, this main green one, where this main order block is obviously on the higher dealing range, is where the breaker blocks are, which get formed and flipped. So again, lo and behold, formed it, resistance, flipped, support. Obviously we flipped it again because we couldn't get back above the main areas. Because again, where are we? Where's the purple line? Purple line's here. Interestingly, obviously we had the print above the purple line, but we came back down. Obviously, remembering we had different ranges, especially this 729, which again, where the high range is on the 243 is where the equilibrium is. So you can see this is main equilibrium, bounce, near enough bounce there, coming back into it right now, trying to come back into at 2,477 from 2,600. This whole area is where equilibrium is, but I'm expecting movement upwards. What's all these red lines as well? That's horrible. Oh no, I've drawn both of them, that's why. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we are currently seeing us trying to get back above. Hopefully we can hold this order block. It's rough waters though. Again, we come up, we come down, we come up, we come down. I'm hoping, again, if Bitcoin finally sees that surpass of that order block and the breaker block, which I've talked about on the green area and the grey area, which is about 64k, I think it was. If we eventually see ourselves surpass that, as we could expect, then we could see, Ethereum start to actually see above into this equilibrium at 2,500. And again, remember, I talked about this on Monday. Solana and Bitcoin are currently kind of in the same area when it comes to we're at equilibrium, or we were at equilibrium, or one of them's at oh no, was it Ethereum and Solana in similar areas? There was 2 coins out of 3 which were in similar areas, and Ethereum, I think it was Ethereum, where it was currently at the equilibrium. It's a really difficult area. So obviously that's the way there's disparity. I think Solana and Ethereum are both roughly at equilibrium and are at the low of the range. But I think Bitcoin was at the equilibrium and surpassing it. So that's kind of why there's a bit of a disparity. But again, as the market moves, we should move similar, over the board or across the board, if you will. So I will expect that movement for Ethereum, but I will apply that TA or that kind of analysis to Solana as well, because I think Ethereum and Solana are in similar scenarios when it comes to equilibrium, and they're both at equilibrium. So I think when we have that pump towards 64k and beyond, hopefully for Bitcoin, if all things go well, then we should see that movement into equilibrium for both Ethereum and Solana. Because currently right now we've had one pump into it, and again, what was the Bitcoin TA? It was this. So this is relative to Bitcoin in theory. So this is perfect. This is exactly what I was talking about. So with Bitcoin, it had that order block at 64k. This is pretty much identical to TA, in terms of we had that, higher lows here. We had this rough movement. But we had this movement exactly the same in Bitcoin and Ethereum as we see right now. But where's this Ethereum one? There's a bit of a difference. Well, Ethereum one is bouncing off equilibrium instead of an order block. So as I was just saying with Bitcoin, pumping above equilibrium and going towards, pumping above the order block and going above 64k and beyond, I think the same TA will apply for Ethereum and Solana, but to the equilibrium, which will be us pumping into equilibrium and surpassing it. So as you can see about that pump, this line at 2,520 is basically the equivalent of the 64k for Bitcoin. So obviously that surpass which we expect for Bitcoin, I think we could have seen in the market, which will be surpassing this difficult area down here, which you can see bounce twice and come into it once here. So I'm expecting this movement 2,500. Hopefully surpassing it and seeing support at 2,564 and 2,600 and whatnot. But as I see it right now, we're going to be a bit stuck at equilibrium. And considering the pump we've had in the market, I could expect retracements similar with Bitcoin. So if we go to 1 hour, you can see, I mean, this has been, Ethereum or Bitcoin was pretty strong, predominant in the positive side of things. Pretty much every single candle was positive. But it's a bit different for Ethereum. You can see there are a couple negative candles here and there, but it's still the same angle, still the same action. We could expect that retracement as we need with Ethereum in this case, because this is the breaker block. In order for it to be the breaker block, you have to come back into it. And bearing in mind, it is a negative order block, so it needs to be used as support. So we could retrace, similar with Bitcoin, into its fair value gap. We could see 2,423 again, back towards this area. We've come from 2,472. We could see that retracement towards 2,420, and then come back upwards towards equilibrium if we see similar TA as we see with Bitcoin and whatnot. So that's what I expect for Ethereum. That sort of movement is similar with the market as a whole. What I do want to see though is what we have here. The candle is technically within fair value gap area. You can see this candle wick is within the area, so it does fulfill this area. So we could see something of difficulty, Obviously, you know, bearing in mind, okay, well, where is... let's make it a different color. Let's make it like not green. Pick a purple. Okay, so you see, okay, where is the midpoint of this line? It's actually pretty much exactly where the top of the equilibrium is. So we could see difficulty again, you know, if we do eventually see that pump as we do with the market, we could see, obviously we have this rejection block, which we've, you know, had a support twice and flipped. We could see resistance there. That's kind of, you know, we might not necessarily see support there or resistance there, if you will. But with this, you know, lineup of equilibrium, rejection block, and we could potentially see this as a potential fair value gap. Again, it is formed predominantly and majoritively within the area above equilibrium and within equilibrium itself. So technically, it is a negative inefficiency formed within the premium side of things, which is where negative things form or are supposedly respected better than, you know, the opposite side of things. So in theory, we could see that resistance at 2,000. You know, 2,500, 600 area as a pretty strong one. You know, we could see this area pretty strong resistance coming into 2,600 and then come down again. But as long as, you know, we see that movement, you know, fill it, come down, as long as we see a 2,400, 2,500 support, aka using the bottom of the equilibrium support, then I wouldn't mind seeing that movement coming back upwards into this area, you know, as a bounce from the bottom of the equilibrium. So we could see that. That would be nice. What could happen, maybe as a bit of a more exaggerated thing, is we see that fill of the inefficiency, and then we see the flip of the rejection block. So it's not even that steep of a movement downwards. And bearing in mind, where is the midpoint of this rejection block? It is roughly within the center of this equilibrium at 2,540. So we could see that bounce off there and then come up really rapidly. But you know, obviously time will tell. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the price, how the price reacts to, you know, upcoming data, whether it may be, and normal price action. But as I see it right now with Bitcoin and pretty much Ethereum and Solana across the board, I will expect that movement upwards after, you know, retracement with Bitcoin and with Ethereum coming back into its breaker block at 2,425. So Solana time. I don't know if I think I have a range on one of these charts. Yeah, here we go. So what do we have? I remember looking at this. We had this action coming back up into this line, pretty much bouncing off exactly. But again, TA in between Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum are pretty much exact. Actually, in this case, to be fair though, it was Solana and Bitcoin which had similar TA, and Ethereum was different. You can see, you know, with Solana, what was it? Coming up to, you know, the high of the area, coming below equilibrium, finding resistance at equilibrium at a, you know, order block. You can see pretty much exactly the same, you know, in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Bitcoin and Solana. We have very similar TA. So in terms of that regard, you know, Solana, we come down a bit steeper. We haven't quite reached, you know, above equilibrium yet. But we are seeing difficulty currently at the midpoint of this order block, which is actually formed within breaker block area. So again, very similar story with Bitcoin and whatnot. I don't know why I have this drawn. I think it must have been a higher dealing range. I don't know why I have this drawn. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. Whatever. Yeah, so we do have this range of difficulty. We've got another one here. Breaker block, which again, I talked about, I think, last stream as well. Where you see resistance, bang, flipped it, tried to use support, failed, obviously, as we dumped with the data. We've now flipped it, and we've also wicked back to it. So if you've got a lower time frame, you can see we have wicked to it and used it as support. You know, if I'm on the 5 minute, we have come above this breaker block, and we have used it support 2 or 3 times already. So this is a good sign for that breaker block at, you know, $144, you know, $144, $145 roughly. So good support there, but we have to do the exact same thing with this higher order block we have, which was a breaker block in between the $146.50 range. So as I was saying with you know, oh, the TA is very similar to how we already have it. Again, this is very similar to TA than Monday time, which was like, you know, back here, I think. Actually, no, Monday was a bit different, wasn't it? Yeah, whatever. I think it must have been the stream before this stream. But yeah, so we're seeing that resistance now, similar with Bitcoin, how it had with I can't remember what we're bouncing off right now for Bitcoin. I think it was the order block above or something. I can't really remember exactly. Oh no, the current breaker block above equilibrium. I can't remember. we are doing a very similar story with, you know, Solana bouncing off a new breaker block. I think Bitcoin is also bouncing off a breaker block. So we could see that retracement and a bounce upwards to flip, and then try and see ourselves get back above equilibrium. But again, obviously getting above equilibrium is a difficult task. I will not deny that. Actually, let's bring this back a bit. I want to see previous TA. Look at that. Really good previous TA. Bang, bounce, bang, bounce, bang, bounce. So, if we actually look back at the TA, and see if we shimmy that, we've actually got lower highs here, as you can see. So, in terms of the longer range of things, got like, you know, it's kind of like this, bang M, and now we're kind of in this area now. So, across the board, we've got, you know, higher high, or this high here, lower high, lower high. Obviously, this, actually the lowest down here, but it comes up to kind of bounce off here. So it's now a lower high from this lower, or a lower low from this lower high, and now we've come up for a lower high again. So obviously, if we were to look at it in that regard of things, it would be, you know, down here. But I don't think so. I think we're going to pump. But just seeing if we had anything previous, any sort of previous TA. But as I see it right now, we are hopefully trying to get back above this 146.7 or $146.70 area. So I'm hoping to get back above this and get into the equilibrium. But again, this is only the surface level, $146. We still have all the midpoint main equilibrium and $150 to surpass, or $151 to surpass. So we're going to see difficulty. There's no denying that. Hopefully we can surpass it. But you can see how well we've been using. You see resistance, flipped it, really good support there, and then obviously flipped it again by hitting this order block. So, but again, we're bearing in mind, it's kind of like a cascading thing where we broke above breaker block and use it as support, and then we try to break above this breaker block as well, but we use it as resistance. So this is kind of the setup for us to do the exact same thing again and then break it, because it is then already been broken. Again, looking at it, this is another breaker block, which we're going to have to break. But to be fair though, this is actually a breaker block on the opposite side of things. So you can see, you know, we formed this. It's a positive order block, which then gets formed into a breaker block. We never came back to use it as resistance, and then this line missed it by a tiny bit. So technically, it's not been bounced into yet. So we could actually surpass this and not use it, because because a breaker block, the way you use it is you have to come back into it to then use it as a breaker block. If you form an order block and then flip it to be a breaker block and then never come back, it will not be, you know, it will not be used as a breaker block properly. It will be surpassed. So bear that in mind. We could see that. I'm not too worried about this $153 mark. We may see it surpass already, and then at that point it's an order block. And at that point, you don't necessarily need to come back into it. It'll be a good support area. So then come back upwards into this rejection block, so on and so forth. But that's obviously coming into the longer future of Solana as we see it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm impressed. It is 2 minutes to 10 o'clock, or actually it's 1.5 minutes, and I've pretty much finished my TA in pretty good time. I normally take a bunch of time to do everything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at money flow. I just remembered it right now. We'll look at money flow for one last thing for Kishan. Just to see what's going on in this regard. So let's have a look. So let's go to 4 hour on Bitcoin. We still have money flow going upwards. I think last time I looked, it was Monday. Oh no. Well, it must have been Monday, obviously. But yeah, I think I looked at it Friday last week, because we had a Wednesday thing as well, and I said money flow is going up, and obviously we continue to go upwards, and then obviously you know, we saw this print above the 60 mark. We saw the RSIs both start to come downwards. VWAP started to cross the 0 mark. That was obviously pretty negative, and then we came downwards. Obviously we see a bullish divergence. We see it below the 60 mark. We see money flow go up. We see VWAP surpass. We see both the RSIs surpass pretty nicely. So really good, you know, sensical movement upwards. But obviously money flow is still coming upwards, but you know, we've hit the neutral mark in terms of the momentum. Obviously VWAP is still coming upwards, so not any, you know, anything negative, but obviously that kind of conflicts with what I've already talked about, because again, you know, I still think it's gonna, you know, come down and retrace a bit. But again, you can also see RSI, the normal RSI is actually red now, becoming overbought. The stochastics hasn't really done that yet. But new print now, VWAPs actually start to come downwards, so we could see that negativity. which makes sense. So on the 4-hour, money flow still coming upwards though. Daily, money flow is hovering a bit. You can see it was coming up since Friday. It has been coming upwards. It started to come down again, but obviously it's starting to arc again. But it's kind of choppy. You know, it's kind of a bit choppy because obviously it was coming upwards. It's come down. We haven't surpassed this previous area. So you can see, like, you know, it kind of oscillates upwards. We haven't had that oscillate downwards below this yet. We haven't really, you know, oscillate downwards. We haven't done that yet. So if we can see it, you know, dip maybe upwards again, which will make sense if we, on the daily time frame base things, you know, we could see that, you know, it eventually come back upwards again, you know, which gives us enough time to retrace and then continue upwards. So I could still expect it to come upwards for the money flow on the daily. But let's see I'll quickly look at the weekly. Coming upwards still again, which is good. 1 hour coming upwards again, but again, RSI's completely overbought. Stochastics is like heavily oversold or overbought. Sorry, waiting for that done. We've got a red dot as well. VWAP's crossed the 0 mark. Money flow may still be going up, but again, we're on the 1 hour, so it's not as positive. So we could see an arc. You know, what makes sense in terms of the market cipher is that we should see the arc now because of how negative we are. You know, both the RSI is negative and the stochastics start to arc downwards. Momentum's coming downwards. VWAP is surpassing the 0 mark and is coming downwards, so we could see that negativity. So I need to sneeze really badly and it's blocking up my nose. I can't speak. That's it for the money flow. 1 hour wise, it looks negative. 4 hour, it's still positive. Technically, still above neutral mark. So on the 4 hour wise, you know, it's still, you know, positive. We can still have a candle or two because you can see, like, for example, these two candles. Obviously, we had negativity, but these two candles, these three candles, for example, in this negative were positive. You can still see we are decently negative coming downwards from here, coming downwards from here. We can still have positive candles in a negative trend. So, for example, in this case, we're in a positive trend. You can still have 1 or 2 negative candles in a positive trend. And this is the 4 hour. So that technically means you can have 8 to 12 hours of negativity before it really, on the 4 hour anyway, which obviously if you pass that down to the 1 hour is 8 candles, 12 candles of negativity allowance, which obviously would mean we could come up, come downwards again, and then come upwards. So it makes sense if you look at it on the grand scheme of things that the 1 hour is negative. 4 hour isn't still negative just yet because it could still come downwards on the lower time frames before it really has an effect on the higher time frames. But, you know, 4 hours still positive. 1 hour I think is going to start to come downwards. Daily, it's a bit choppy, but we could, if we still have moving upwards, it's not that bad. Weekly is positive as well, so decently well on the money flow. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited. Let's go. Hopefully we pump. I could expect it. We're going to reach 64k soon. Pumping. Let's go. Thank you guys, all of you, for watching. I really appreciate it all. Each and every one of you for joining. Actually, I'll check the comments because it's been a while. Been yapping a lot. I'll only one on TA. Only best tier on YouTube. Appreciate it, man. I mean, obviously, if you think, and that's the end of the day, you know, if I think the TA is terrible, but you guys think it's good, that's all that matters at the end of the day, okay? Thank you, I really appreciate it, Kishan. Actual go, okay? 63k struggling, yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm expecting this retracement towards, you know, that not only the inefficiency, but also into the equilibrium, as I've already talked about. Not really going to be surprised there if we do have that retracement. Great TA, thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. Take care, mate. Take care to yourself, KB. Thank you for joining the stream, each and every one of you. Love you guys, appreciate it. Obviously, if you're new and you enjoyed the stream and you've been watching, consider following, consider liking. Obviously, you don't have to. No shame. I will shame you in my mind. I won't say it to your face. Obviously, I can't say it to your face. I will shame you in your mind. If you don't want to get shamed on me, in my mind, hit the like, hit the follow, and whatnot. And while you're down there, check the description. Really useful links down there. Twitter, Telegram mainly. If you want to talk to us, me or Mike, or anyone in the community, see the charts, whatnot, comes to Telegram. There you go. Twitter, announcements. Yo, I think there's 4 and 4 and whatnot. There's like different things going on over there. There's different videos. Mike's up to date on that. Go check that out. It's brilliant. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you. I'll see you Monday. I think it's Monday and I'll check actually. Monday and Thursday is my streams, I think. Monday and Thursday, I'll be back again for the TA. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you all. See you next time. See you in the Telegram. Goodbye.